Hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. I also live stream all of my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you would like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it get put together live, send me a message today. Alright, so this video is all about Intel CPUs and understanding what they are, how they differ, and what the actual model numbers mean. Because there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misconception out there when it comes to Intel CPUs, less so with the Ryzen CPUs, but I will do another video on AMD CPUs as well. So we might just talk about the i5s to start off with. So let's just have a look at these boxes here. So these are three Intel 9th Gen i5 chips. So you can see there we have a 9400, 9400F, and a 9600K. So what's the difference between these CPUs? So let's start with just the 9400 and the 9400F. Okay. So these CPUs, if you look on the side, they're both 2.9 gigahertz. They've got 9 megabytes of cache. All the details on the label. They're exactly the same. The only difference between these two CPUs is that one has onboard graphics and one does not. So the F means it does, this one. The F does not have onboard graphics. And you'll notice that in the other corner there it says discrete graphics required. So any CPU that you pick up from Intel that has the F at the end, that specifically requires you to have a graphics card. Okay? So before we move on, I want to get on to the next kind of part of our lesson here today. It's not just understanding the letters at the end, it's understanding what this model number means. So what does 9400 represent? So it's an i5. That's kind of like a meaningless, or it's nearly meaningless, that name. What we have there is a 9400. So we have an Intel 9th generation, so it starts with a 9, and this is the 400 series. So if Intel had more I numbers, they could call this an i4, not an i5. They've got the 400, the 500, and the 600 in i5s. So if you have an 8600K, that's an 8th generation 600 series chip. And it's a K SKU, which we'll get to in a second. So that's what those numbers represent. So if it's a 10400, it means it's an Intel 10th generation 400 series chip. So we have a look at a couple of other chips here. So we have the i5 9600K and the i7 9700KF. So with these CPUs, the K means something a bit different. So the K, what the K represents, you'll notice it says unlocked. Okay, so some people might say, oh, the only difference is you can overclock them. That's not true. That's complete bullshit. So with these chips, any of the K series chips, they are the ones that have come out nearly perfect. Because when Intel make i5s, they don't make 400s, 500s, and 600s. They just make i5s with onboard graphics and i5s without onboard graphics. Okay? And all of those chips get tested. And the lowest performing ones that get hotter quicker and all that kind of stuff, they become the 400s. Then they have the 500s. They perform a bit better. They can be clocked a bit higher, and that's why the 500s are clocked higher than the 400s. And then, of course, the 600s, that's going to be a step up again. But then they have the K. So the K is basically like the top 10% of those Intel chips that are coming off. They represent the best examples of that type of processor. And so, like I said, there's ones that have onboard graphics, so it doesn't have an F, and there's ones that don't have onboard graphics, so it has an F at the end. So these are the two sort of different styles of CPU they make for i7, i5, i3, i9, but only the best will end up with a K. And so what that means compared to a non-K SKU is that out of the box, just without doing anything else, these chips perform better than their non-K counterparts. So even if you have no intention of overclocking and you just want to get like the best performance, you pick up a K series chip and it's going to be the best example of an i5, i7, i9 that you can get. So really, really easy there. So, and it's again, you know, it's the same over here. So let's have a look. We've got a few i9s here now. So these are obviously 10th generation. So as I said before, with 10th generation, we're going to start with the number 10. So we've got the 10900KF, the 10900F, and the 10850K. So this gets a little bit interesting here. So they're all i9s, but like the concept that we explained before, how we have the 400s, 500s, and 600s in the i5s, there is a 850, which is this one over here. And so this one here didn't quite fit the profile to become a full-fledged i9 900, but was still pretty good. So it's clocked slightly lower than a 900, but it's overclockable because it's the K, so it's still a really good one. It just means with this particular CPU, it just meant that, see, the 10900K can boost up to 5.3 gigahertz. It just meant that with this one, it got too hot when it was doing that. So they had to clock it lower from factory, so they called it the 10850K. Because it was still too good to be just a normal 10900, or it would only be a 10900 because this has onboard graphics. So, and the other ones we'll talk about here is Celeron SKUs. So you're gonna see these ones, and they will start with the letter G, and they'll have a number there, and you can pretty much just compare the numbers. The ones with higher numbers are better. And the other one you may see with desktop CPUs is you might see this one, and it might be listed as KA. It doesn't actually say KA on the box, it just says K, because this is just a K series chip. So this is another i9 10850K. But if you see the KA, it's just referring to the Avengers marketing that's on the box. It's not actually a model number. And so the other designations that you're going to see in Intel CPUs is you will see a T, which is generally only found in like HPs and Dells and stuff like that, and it's like a low power consumption chip. You'll also see H and U and W and a few other random ones there for laptops as well. But in general, if you see like a T or a U, it's probably either a low power or a laptop SKU. So not comparable to these desktop SKUs at all. So I think that pretty much covers off the basics of Intel CPUs. So obviously we'll just recap. We have at the start of the number, we have the generation number, so that is, get out of the camera because the camera autofocuses on me because I'm a human. It doesn't want to focus on what I put in my hand. So obviously with this one we have a 9 there, so this is a 9th generation. If that number was an 8, 7 or 6, that would be the generation that it's from. The 700 those last 3 digits, that's the number within the generation. So it's a 700, so an i7, and then it's a KF. So K being the top tier SKUs that are clocked higher from factory and perform the best. F meaning that it doesn't have onboard graphics, so you need a graphics card to run the CPU. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit me up on Facebook if you're wanting a new PC build, and I'll see you all in the next video.